The galactic distress call. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless civilizations had risen and fallen over billions of years. Some had achieved technological marvels beyond imagination, while others remained confined to their home planets. Among these diverse societies, humanity was considered little more than a curiosity, a young, brash species that had barely taken its first steps into space. The Galactic Council, a confederation of advanced alien races, had long regarded Earth with a mixture of amusement and disdain. Humans were seen as primitive, volatile, and unpredictable. Their propensity for conflict and their short lifespans made them ill-suited for the delicate balance of interstellar politics. It was on a day like any other when everything changed. The Galactic Council's emergency communication network crackled to life, carrying a desperate plea from a distant corner of the galaxy. "This is High Chancellor Zorax of the Lyrian Collective. Our civilization faces imminent destruction. We implore any who hear this message to come to our aid. The Vroktar horde has breached our outer defenses. We cannot hold out much longer. Please, help us." The message repeated, its urgency palpable even across the vast distances of space. The Lyrians were known throughout the galaxy as a peaceful, highly advanced race. Their art, philosophy, and scientific achievements were unparalleled. The thought of losing such a civilization sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. Yet, as the hours ticked by, an eerie silence fell over the communication channels. None of the advanced races were willing to risk confrontation with the dreaded Vroktar horde. The Vroktar were a nomadic warrior race, consuming resources and leaving devastation in their wake. They were the stuff of nightmares, relentless, brutal, and seemingly unstoppable. As hope began to fade for the Lyrians, an unexpected response came from the least likely source: Earth. In the control room of the newly established United Earth Space Command, Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood before a panel of world leaders. Her weathered face bore the determination of someone who had faced impossible odds before. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady and resolute, "we have all heard the Lyrian distress call. While the rest of the galaxy cowers in fear, I propose that we, humanity, answer their plea." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the room. The Chinese premier spoke up, his voice tinged with concern. "Admiral, surely you jest. We barely have interstellar capability. How can we hope to stand against a threat that terrifies even the most advanced civilizations?" Admiral Rodriguez's eyes flashed with conviction. "It is precisely because we are untested that we must go. The galaxy sees us as weak, as primitive. But they underestimate the strength of the human spirit. We have faced extinction-level threats on our own world and survived. We have overcome divisions that once seemed insurmountable to reach the stars. Now we have the chance to prove our worth not just to the galaxy, but to ourselves." The room fell silent as her words sank in. It was the President of the African Union who spoke next, her voice filled with cautious hope. "What do you propose, Admiral?" Rodriguez tapped a control, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing Earth's modest but growing space fleet. "We have 5 interstellar-capable ships, recently fitted with experimental faster-than-light drives. They're not warships, but they're sturdy and adaptable. I propose we send all 5, crewed by our best and brightest, on a rescue mission to Lyria." The next hours were a flurry of debate and planning. As word spread of Earth's decision, volunteers flooded in from every corner of the globe. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and diplomats, all willing to risk everything on this unprecedented mission. In orbit above Earth, frantic preparations were underway. The 5 ships, Endeavour, Zhenghe, Yuri Gagarin, Kalpana Chawla, and Mawson, were being loaded with supplies and retrofitted for the challenges ahead. Each ship was a testament to human ingenuity, designed to be self-sufficient for years if necessary. As the launch date approached, Admiral Rodriguez addressed the crew one last time. Standing before a diverse group of humans from every continent, she felt a surge of pride. "You represent the best of humanity," she said, her voice carrying across the hangar bay. "We go not just to save the Lyrians, but to show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of. We may be young, we may be untested, but we possess something that no other race can match, an indomitable will to overcome any obstacle, to defy any odds." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "The journey ahead will be perilous. We may not all return. But know this, by answering this call, by daring to reach beyond our limits, we are already victorious. We will show the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with, not through conquest or intimidation, but through courage, compassion, and an unwavering determination to do what is right." A cheer erupted from the assembled crew, a sound of unity and resolve that echoed through the hangar. As they boarded their ships, each person carried with them the hopes and dreams of their entire species. In the control room, world leaders watched with bated breath as the 5 ships prepared for launch. The Galactic Council, alerted to Earth's audacious plan, observed with a mixture of disbelief and grudging admiration. As the countdown reached 0, the ship's engines flared to life, pushing against the bonds of Earth's gravity. In a brilliant display of light and power, humanity's first interstellar rescue fleet soared into the cosmos, embarking on a journey that would change the fate of not just the Lyrians, but of humanity itself. The galaxy watched, wondering if these upstart humans were brave heroes or foolish children rushing to their doom. Only time would tell if humanity's boldness would be their salvation or their undoing. As the ships disappeared into the vastness of space, Admiral Rodriguez whispered a quiet prayer. "Godspeed, my friends. Show them what humanity is made of." Journey to the unknown. The 5 Earth ships hurtled through the cosmos, their experimental faster-than-light drives pushing the boundaries of known physics. Inside the lead ship, Endeavour, Captain Amelia Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of spacetime that enveloped them. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped the crew. Lieutenant Kareem Nasser, the ship's science officer, responded from his station. "FTL drive is stable, Captain. We're maintaining course to the Lyrian system. ETA is 72 hours. Amelia nodded, allowing herself a small smile. The fact that they had successfully engaged their FTL drives was a miracle in itself. Humanity had only theorized about this technology a few years ago, and now they were using it to traverse distances that once seemed insurmountable. As the hours ticked by, the crew settled into a rhythm of constant vigilance and preparation. They knew that once they arrived at Lyria, they would be facing an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. On the second day of their journey, an unexpected message came through their comms. It was from the Galactic Council. "Attention, Earth vessels," a stern voice crackled through the speakers. "This is High Counselor Zextra of the Galactic Council. We strongly advise you to abort your mission and return to your home system. The Vroktar horde is beyond your capabilities. Your interference may only exacerbate the situation." Captain Chen exchanged glances with her first officer, Commander Diego Morales. They had expected resistance from the Council, but not direct communication. "High Counselor," Amelia responded, her voice firm, "we appreciate your concern. However, we cannot in good conscience ignore a plea for help. We will continue our mission." There was a pause before the counselor spoke again, their tone a mixture of exasperation and curiosity. "Your species continues to perplex us, humans. What do you hope to achieve? You have no experience in interstellar warfare, no advanced weaponry. The Vroktar will crush you without a second thought." It was Diego who answered this time, his voice filled with conviction. "With all due respect, High Counselor, it's not about what we have. It's about who we are. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before and survived. We've overcome our own divisions to reach the stars. We may be young, but we are not to be underestimated." The communication ended shortly after, leaving the bridge in thoughtful silence. Amelia turned to her crew, seeing determination in their eyes. "Well," she said with a wry smile, "I guess we'll have to prove them wrong." As they neared the halfway point of their journey, disaster struck. A massive solar flare from a nearby star system hit their fleet, sending cascading failures through their systems. Alarms blared across all 5 ships as they were violently thrown out of FTL. On the Endeavour, Amelia gripped her chair, shouting orders over the chaos. "Damage report. Get those shields back up." Lieutenant Nasser's fingers flew over his console. "FTL drive is offline. We've got power fluctuations across all decks. The other ships are reporting similar issues." For the next several hours, the crews of all 5 ships worked tirelessly to repair the damage. It was a stark reminder of the dangers they faced in deep space, far from any help or support. In the engine room of the Zhenghe, Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka found herself faced with a seemingly impossible task. The ship's main power core was on the verge of a meltdown, and the usual safety protocols weren't responding. With sweat beading on her brow, Yuki made a decision that went against every safety regulation in the book. She manually vented the core's plasma into a makeshift containment field, using the ship's gravitational systems in a way they were never designed for. It was risky, unconventional, and it worked. One by one, the ships came back online, their crews having performed similar feats of ingenuity and daring. When communications were restored, Captain Chen addressed the fleet. "Well done, everyone. This is exactly why we're out here. We adapt, we overcome. The Lyrians are counting on us, and we will not let them down." As repairs continued, the fleet received another unexpected communication, this time from a passing alien merchant vessel. The merchant, a squid-like creature named Sorlax, had heard of their mission. "You humans are either very brave or very foolish," Sorlax said, his tentacles waving in what they assumed was a gesture of bewilderment. "But I've seen the devastation the Vroktar leave in their wake. If there's even a chance you can stop them, you have my support." To the crew's surprise, Sorlax provided them with valuable intelligence about Vroktar battle tactics and weaknesses, information that the Galactic Council had either withheld or didn't possess. Armed with this new knowledge, the fleet resumed their journey with renewed determination. They used the remaining time to refine their strategy, run combat simulations, and prepare for every possible scenario. As they approached the Lyrian system, tension mounted. Long-range scans showed the devastation already wrought by the Vroktar. Entire planets had been stripped of resources, their surfaces scared and lifeless. On the bridge of the Endeavour, Captain Chen addressed her crew one last time before they entered the fray. "We stand on the precipice of history, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. We carry with us the hopes of the Lyrians and the doubts of the Galactic Council. But more than that, we carry the indomitable spirit of humanity. Whatever happens next, know that your courage and determination have already changed the course of galactic history. We are no longer the primitive species to be ignored or patronized. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of." As she finished speaking, the fleet dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Lyrian home system. Before them lay a scene of chaos and destruction. The massive Vroktar warships loomed over the besieged Lyrian planets, their weapons raining devastation upon the defenders. For a moment, the human fleet hung in space, 5 tiny ships against an armada of giants. Then, with a surge of power, they charged forward into battle, humanity's first interstellar war cry echoing across the cosmos. The galaxy watched, holding its breath, as the unlikely heroes from Earth threw themselves into a conflict that would determine the fate of not just the Lyrians, but potentially the entire galactic order. The true test of humanity's resolve was about to begin. First contact and conflict. The human fleet surged into the Lyrian system, a David among Goliaths. The Vroktar ships, massive constructs of metal and energy, dwarfed the Earth vessels. For a moment, silence reigned as both sides registered the new arrivals. Captain Chen's voice rang out across the comms to all 5 ships. "This is it, people. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and watch each other's backs. Endeavor will lead the charge. Zheng He and Yuri Gagarin, flank right. Kalpana Chawla and Mawson, take the left. Let's show them what humanity can do. As if awakening from a stupor, the Vroktar fleet suddenly burst into action. Energy weapons lanced out, filling space with deadly light. The human ships scattered, their smaller size and superior maneuverability allowing them to dodge the brunt of the assault. On board the Endeavour, Lieutenant Nasser called out, "Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the planet's surface. It's weak, but it's definitely Lyrian." "Put it through," Chen ordered, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. A haggard voice crackled through the speakers. "Unknown vessels, this is High Chancellor Zorax of the Lyrian Collective. Who are you? Why have you come?" Amelia's response was cut short as the ship rocked from a near miss. "High Chancellor, this is Captain Amelia Chen of the Earth ship Endeavour. We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was a pause filled only by the sounds of battle. When Zorax spoke again, his voice was filled with disbelief and hope. "Earth? The humans have come to our aid. But how? Why?" "Let's save the explanations for later, Chancellor," Amelia replied, her hands dancing over the ship's controls. "Right now, we need to focus on pushing back the Vroktar. Do you have any defensive capabilities left?" "Very little," Zorax admitted. "Our orbital platforms have been destroyed, and our ground-based weapons are nearly depleted." Amelia's mind raced. They needed a plan, and fast. "All right, listen carefully. We're going to create a diversion. When you see an opening, hit them with everything you've got left." As the battle raged on, the human ships demonstrated a level of coordination and adaptability that caught the Vroktar off guard. The Zheng He and Yuri Gagarin executed a daring maneuver, using the gravity of Lyria's moons to slingshot themselves behind the Vroktar line, catching several ships in a devastating crossfire. Meanwhile, the Kalpana Chawla revealed a surprise of its own. From its hull erupted a swarm of small, agile drones. These unmanned craft, guided by advanced AI, darted between the massive Vroktar ships, causing confusion and drawing fire away from the main fleet. On the bridge of the Vroktar command ship, Warlord Krasnok watched in growing fury as the tiny human vessels wreaked havoc on his carefully planned assault. "Impossible," he roared, his clawed hand crushing the armrest of his command chair. "These primitive creatures dare to challenge the might of the Vroktar. Concentrate all fire on their lead ship. I want it obliterated." The Endeavour shuddered as multiple energy beams converged on its position. Alarms blared across the bridge as systems began to fail under the onslaught. "Shields at 20% and falling," shouted the tactical officer. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Amelia gritted her teeth, her mind racing for a solution. It was Commander Morales who provided the spark of inspiration. "Captain," he said, his eyes alight with an idea, "remember that trick Yuki pulled with the gravitational systems during our repairs?" Understanding dawned on Amelia's face. "You're not suggesting." Diego nodded grimly. "It's crazy, but it might just work." Without hesitation, Amelia opened a channel to the engine room. "Chief Tanaka, I need you to recreate that containment field you used during the solar flare incident. But this time, I want you to reverse it. Create a gravity well right in front of our ship." There was a moment of stunned silence before Yuki's voice came back, a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Captain, if we do that, it could tear the ship apart. If we don't, we're dead anyway," Amelia replied. "Do it." The next few moments were tense as Yuki and her team worked feverishly to reconfigure the ship's systems. The Endeavour continued to take heavy fire, its shields on the verge of collapse. Suddenly, space itself seemed to warp in front of the human ship. The intense gravitational field began to pull in everything around it, including the energy beams from the Vroktar weapons. "It's working," Diego exclaimed. "Their shots are being redirected." Amelia allowed herself a small smile of triumph. Now, Yuki, push that field towards the enemy fleet. With a surge of power, the Endeavor propelled the artificial gravity well towards the Vroktar ships. The massive vessels, unprepared for such an attack, found themselves being pulled off course. Several collided with each other, their hulls crumpling under the immense gravitational forces. The other human ships seized the opportunity, concentrating their fire on the disoriented Vroktar vessels. Explosions blossomed in the void as ship after ship succumbed to the combined assault. From the planet's surface, the Lyrians watched in awe as the tide of battle turned. Chancellor Zorax, his eyes wide with disbelief, gave the order to fire their remaining weapons. The last of the Lyrian defense platforms roared to life, catching the Vroktar in a devastating crossfire. Warlord Krasnok, his ship listing and burning around him, could not comprehend what he was seeing. These humans, these insignificant creatures, had done the impossible. They had broken the might of the Vroktar horde. As the remaining Vroktar ships began to retreat, a cheer went up across the human fleet. They had done it. Against all odds, they had saved the Lyrians and dealt a crippling blow to one of the most feared forces in the galaxy. But their victory celebration was cut short as new alarms blared across the ships. The battle had taken its toll, and now the human vessels were facing a new crisis. Systems were failing across the fleet, and the artificial gravity well had severely damaged the Endeavor's structural integrity. As Captain Chen surveyed the chaos on her bridge, she knew that their ordeal was far from over. They had won the battle, but now they faced a desperate race against time to save their own lives and solidify their incredible victory. The next few hours would determine whether humanity's first interstellar military operation would end in triumphant success or tragic disaster. The eyes of the galaxy remained fixed on the battered but unbroken human fleet, waiting to see what these audacious newcomers would do next. The battle for survival. The aftermath of the battle was a scene of controlled chaos. The human fleet, victorious but badly damaged, hung in space above the grateful Lyrian homeworld. Emergency crews worked tirelessly to stabilize critical systems and prevent catastrophic failures. On the bridge of the Endeavor, Captain Chen surveyed the damage reports with a grim expression. "Status update," she demanded, her voice hoarse from shouting orders during the heat of battle. Commander Morales responded, his uniform stained with sweat and soot. "It's not good, Captain. The Endeavor's structural integrity is compromised. We're venting atmosphere in sections 3 through 7. The Zhanghe and Mawson are in similar shape. Yuri Gagarin and Kalpana Chawla are functional but operating at reduced capacity." Amelia nodded, her mind racing through possible solutions. What about the Lyrians? Have we established direct contact? As if on cue, the comm system crackled to life. "Earth vessels, this is High Chancellor Zorax. We cannot express our gratitude for what you've done. Please, allow us to render any assistance we can." A small smile tugged at Amelia's lips. "Chancellor, we appreciate the offer. Our ships are in critical condition. We need a safe place to land and effect repairs." There was a pause before Zorax replied, his voice tinged with concern. "Captain Chen, we would be honored to welcome you to our world. However, I must warn you, the Vroktar bombardment has left much of our surface unstable. Our spaceports are destroyed. A landing would be extremely risky." Amelia exchanged glances with her bridge crew. They had come too far to fail now. "Understood, Chancellor. We'll find a way. Please send us any topographical data you have. We'll handle the rest." The next few hours were a frantic race against time. The human ships, designed for the depths of space, now faced the daunting task of planetary landing with damaged systems. It was a challenge that would push their ingenuity and courage to the limit. On the Zhanghe, Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka had an epiphany. "Captain Liu," she called out, her eyes bright with inspiration. "If we can't land safely, why don't we cushion our landing?" Captain Wei Liu raised an eyebrow. "Cushion it with what exactly?" Yuki's fingers flew over her console, bringing up schematics. We can reconfigure our shield generators to create a massive bubble around the ship. It won't be pretty, but it should absorb enough of the impact to keep us in one piece." The idea spread quickly through the fleet. It was risky, untested, but it was their best shot at survival. As the ships began their descent, the atmosphere of Lyria lit up with the glow of 5 enormous energy bubbles. The landing was rough. The ships bounced and skidded across the planet's surface, leaving deep gouges in the earth. But when the dust settled, all 5 vessels were intact, their crews shaken but alive. As the human crews emerged from their ships, they found themselves face to face with the Lyrians for the first time. The aliens were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. Despite the differences in appearance, the gratitude and warmth in their gazes needed no translation. High Chancellor Zorax approached Captain Chen, extending a hand in the human gesture of greeting they had learned from intercepted broadcasts. "Captain, on behalf of all Lyrians, welcome to our world. Your bravery and sacrifice will be remembered for generations to come." Amelia shook the Chancellor's hand, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you, Chancellor. We're just glad we could help. But our work isn't done yet. The Vroktar may have been driven back, but they won't stay away for long." Zorax nodded solemnly. "You are right, of course. We must prepare for their return. But how can we hope to stand against such a force?" It was Lieutenant Karim Nasser who spoke up, his scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "Chancellor, during the battle, we observed that your planet's upper atmosphere has unique properties that interfered with our sensors. If we could amplify that effect." The next days were a flurry of activity. Human and Lyrian scientists worked side by side, combining their knowledge and technologies in ways neither had imagined possible. They developed a planetary shield, using the peculiarities of Lyria's atmosphere to create a defense that would render the planet virtually invisible to Vroktar sensors. Meanwhile, the crews worked tirelessly to repair their ships, aided by Lyrian engineers fascinated by human technology. The collaboration led to innovations on both sides, as each species learned from the other's approach to problem-solving. But it wasn't all work. As the days passed, bonds of friendship began to form between humans and Lyrians. They shared stories, customs, and dreams. The Lyrians were particularly fascinated by human art and music, while the humans were in awe of Lyrian architecture and their deep connection to the natural world. 2 weeks after the landing, long-range sensors detected a massive Vroktar fleet approaching the system. It seemed the Horde was determined to finish what they had started, this time with overwhelming force. In a joint war room, human and Lyrian leaders gathered to plan their defense. The atmosphere was tense but determined. Captain Chen stood before the assembled group, her voice steady and resolute. "We've come too far to falter now," she said, her eyes meeting those of every person in the room. "Humans and Lyrians, working together, have accomplished the impossible. We've created defenses in weeks that would normally take years. But our greatest strength isn't in our technology or our strategies. It's in our unity, our shared determination to stand against tyranny and protect the innocent." Chancellor Zorax stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Amelia. "Captain Chen speaks the truth. The Vroktar believe they are invincible because they have never faced a force like ours. They do not understand the power of cooperation, of fighting not just for survival, but for a future worth living." As the final preparations were made, a message arrived from an unexpected source. The Galactic Council, having learned of the human victory and the impending Vroktar counterattack, had decided to send a small fleet to observe the battle. They would not intervene directly, but their presence sent a clear message. The galaxy was watching, and the outcome of this conflict would shape interstellar relations for centuries to come. With the combined human-Lyrian defense force ready and the planetary shield in place, all that remained was to wait for the coming storm. As the Vroktar fleet approached, detectable only by the most sensitive long-range scanners, a sense of quiet determination settled over the defenders. They had fought against impossible odds and emerged victorious once. Now they would do so again, not just for themselves, but for every race that had ever lived under the shadow of Roktar tyranny. The battle to come would determine not just the fate of Lyria, but the future of the galaxy itself. As the first Roktar ships entered the system, humanity stood ready to prove once again that they were a force to be reckoned with, not through overwhelming power, but through courage, ingenuity, and an unwavering commitment to standing up for what was right. The final battle for Lyria was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history, a new era for humanity. The Roktar fleet emerged from hyperspace, a vast armada of warships that blotted out the stars. Their arrival was met with an eerie silence. No defenders rushed to meet them, no planetary defenses opened fire. The Lyrian homeworld hung in space, apparently defenseless. Aboard the Roktar flagship, Warlord Krasnok sneered at the viewscreen. So, the humans have abandoned their new friends. Typical of such a weak species, prepare to commence planetary bombardment. We will make an example of these Lyrians. But as the Roktar ships moved into attack formation, they encountered an unexpected problem. Their sensors, usually precise enough to target individual buildings from orbit, couldn't get a clear reading on the planet's surface. It was as if the entire world was shrouded in a thick fog. Frustrated, Krasnok ordered his ships to move closer. It was then that the trap was sprung. The planetary shield, ingeniously designed to be invisible until the last moment, suddenly sprang to life. A shimmering barrier enveloped the entire planet, its energy tendrils reaching out into space. Several Roktar ships, caught off guard, collided with the barrier, their hulls crumpling under the immense energy discharge. Simultaneously, the combined human-Lyrian fleet decloaked, emerging from hiding places in Lyria's asteroid belt and the shadows of its moons. The 5 Earth ships, now repaired and enhanced with Lyrian technology, led the charge. Captain Chen's voice rang out across all frequencies. "Attention Roktar fleet. This is Captain Amelia Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options. Surrender now or face annihilation." For a moment, stunned silence reigned across the battlefield. Then, with a roar of rage, Warlord Krasnok ordered his fleet to attack. The space around Lyria erupted into chaos. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked between ships, and fighters engaged in deadly dances. But this time, the defenders had the upper hand. The human ships demonstrated maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine. They moved in perfect synchronization with their Lyrian allies, executing complex strategies that left the Roktar reeling. Aboard the Endeavour, Lieutenant Nasser monitored the battle with growing excitement. "Captain, it's working. The Roktar formations are breaking apart. They can't adapt to our combined tactics." Amelia allowed herself a grim smile. "Excellent. Signal the Zhenghe and Yuri Gagarin. It's time for Phase 2. At her command, the 2 ships broke away from the main battle, making a beeline for the Roktar flagship. As they approached, they began to emit a strange, pulsating energy field. On the Roktar bridge, alarms blared as systems began to fail. Krasnok watched in horror as his mighty warship was rendered impotent by an invisible force. "What is this sorcery?" he bellowed, smashing his fist against a dead console. The answer came in the form of Captain Wei Lu's voice over the comm. "It's called science, Warlord. Something you might want to study instead of just blowing things up. The energy field, a revolutionary invention combining human ingenuity with Lyrian energy manipulation techniques, acted as a massive EMP, shutting down the Roktar's advanced weaponry and leaving them defenseless. With their flagship disabled and their fleet in disarray, the remaining Roktar ships began to retreat. But the defenders weren't about to let them escape to threaten other worlds. Chancellor Zorax, commanding the Lyrian forces, gave the order. "All ships, engage tractor beams. Don't let a single Roktar vessel escape. Today we end their reign of terror once and for all." The battle's outcome was decisive. The once mighty Vroktar horde was reduced to a scattered collection of powerless ships, their crews surrendering en masse as the futility of their situation became clear. As the dust settled, the observing Galactic Council fleet approached. Their transmission was filled with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Humans of Earth, Lyrians of Lyria, you have accomplished the impossible. The Galactic Council extends its formal recognition of your victory and requests an immediate conference to discuss the implications of these events. The celebrations that followed were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. On Lyria's surface, humans and Lyrians danced together under alien skies, their joy transcending the barriers of biology and culture. In the weeks that followed, as diplomats from Earth engaged in intense negotiations with the Galactic Council, the true impact of humanity's actions began to sink in. They had not just saved a single world, they had shattered the perceived balance of power in the galaxy. Captain Chen found herself standing before the full Galactic Council, the eyes of countless alien races upon her. Her voice was steady as she addressed the assembly. Esteemed members of the Council, I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for all those who have lived in fear of oppression and tyranny. Humanity may be young in the grand scheme of the cosmos, but we bring with us ideals that are eternal: courage, compassion, and an unyielding determination to fight for what's right. She paused, her gaze sweeping the chamber. We do not seek to dominate or conquer. We seek to cooperate, to learn, to grow alongside our galactic neighbors. The victory at Lyria was not just a human achievement or a Lyrian one. It was a triumph of unity, of diverse peoples coming together in the face of overwhelming odds. Her words resonated through the chamber, touching hearts and minds across species barriers. In that moment, the galaxy began to see humanity not as a primitive curiosity, but as a beacon of hope and change. The aftermath of the Lyrian conflict reshaped galactic politics. Earth was granted a seat on the Galactic Council, its voice now carrying weight in interstellar affairs. The Human-Lyrian alliance became a model for cooperation between species, inspiring other worlds to reach out to one another. As for the Vroktar, their defeat marked the end of their empire. Under the watchful eyes of a galactic peacekeeping force, their worlds began the long process of rebuilding and reintegrating into the galactic community. Years later, as the first generation of human children born on alien worlds looked up at unfamiliar stars, the galaxy was a very different place. Humanity had taken its place among the cosmos not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the very qualities that had once been seen as weaknesses: adaptability, diversity, and an unbreakable spirit. The story of how a small fleet of Earth ships answered a desperate plea and changed the course of galactic history became legend, told and retold across 1,000 worlds. It served as a reminder that true strength lies not in domination, but in the courage to stand up for others, to face impossible odds, and to believe that together, anything is possible. As humanity continued to reach for the stars, they carried with them not just the hopes and dreams of Earth, but the promise of a brighter future for all sentient beings. The age of isolation was over. A new era of galactic cooperation and adventure had begun, with humanity proudly taking its place among the stars.